Good morning, my friends on Facebook. We are going live today on World Diabetes Day. This is 14th November 2021. 14th November is considered to be the World Diabetes Day in remembrance of the inventor of insulin. Insulin, incidentally, was discovered just exactly 100 years back in 1921 by Banting and Best, and today's World Diabetes Day is celebrated to commemorate the birthday of Sir Frederick Banting, along with Charles Best, J.J. Thomson, and Bertrand Collip, received the Nobel Prize for the discovery of insulin in 1923, 2 years after the discovery of insulin, and this is in remembrance of the World Diabetes Day is celebrated all over the world because of this remarkable discovery of humankind. Insulin is probably the most used molecule in the world across the globe, and it has helped save the lives of millions of people. So this is just an awareness program to illuminate the general public about the awareness of diabetes, which is increasing every day. Till date, the statistics says that about 430 to 450 million people are currently suffering from diabetes, and the figures are somewhere in 500s in some of the data. And the incidence of diabetes is increasing because of the gradual urbanization and our food habits and sedentary lifestyle which we are leading, which has led to the highest increase of diabetes, especially in India. India is now the second largest country which has the maximum number of patients, just behind China, and 1 in 6 of the world's diabetic population lives in our country. Our country didn't have this amount of diabetes in the past because at that time it was a more rural setup where people used to work a lot and the dietary habits were not so much urbanized. These days we are into fast food, we are having lack of physical exercise, and the dietary habits have changed remarkably. So that has led to the increase of incidence of diabetes, and today's topic will be diabetes awareness and its importance in 2021. It is the 100th year of insulin discovery, so it has carries some important messages, because diabetes type 1 and type 2 are the two main diabetic varieties which we deal with, apart from gestational diabetes, which happens in pregnant females. So broadly, we can divide diabetes into type 1, type 2, and a gestational diabetes, and there are other causes of secondary diabetes and different other types of diabetes which will not deal in this program because it is beyond the understanding of major population and those the Facebook Live audience which has come here on this Sunday morning in this and has made this Facebook Live an interactive one. So today is the 100th year of discovery of insulin. Type 1 diabetic patients are diabetic patients who are detected at a very young age because they lack insulin production from their pancreas, and this is autoimmune type of diabetes, and this is prevalent mainly in the juvenile population. They are lean, thin, and are detected in a diabetic emergency. They are undetected mainly. They come with vomiting, severe emergency situations with severe dehydration, and the age of presentation is somewhere between 9 to 21, 25. We have seen patients with type 1 diabetes up to age 30 also. So these are type 1 diabetic patients who end up landed up in emergency. They are phenotypically very thin and lean built, whereas type 2 diabetes is found in the slightly elder age group between the age of 40 plus, and in our Indian population we are getting a lot of type 2 diabetic patients even in the age of 20s, because where obesity is very rampant in the severely obese children, they are going into type 2 diabetes, though they are age is around 20, 21, we are getting type 2 diabetic, which are very obese children who are getting into diabetes at a very, very young age. So there is a phenotypic difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is when there is insulin is there in the body, but there is insulin resistance because of the severe amount of obesity. So type 2 diabetes mellitus is a insulin resistance condition, whereas type 1 diabetes is a condition where the insulin production in the body from the pancreas is very limited. So first of all, let us clear some of the doubts and myths. When will you call a patient diabetic? A diabetic, by definition of WHO, is when the fasting blood sugar goes above 126 and when the PP blood sugar goes above 200. This is by definition of World Health Organization when a patient can be stamped as a diabetic. But there are some gray zones. When do you call a patient pre-diabetic? Patient is called pre-diabetic when your fasting blood sugars are between 110 to 126. This is a gray zone where you can call the patient as impaired fasting glucose. And there is another condition called also a pre-diabetic condition, which is called the IGT, where the postprandial blood sugars vary between 140 to 200. So this is a gray zone where the patient can be stamped as a pre-diabetic and has to follow all the diabetic dietary and exercise advices as a diabetic patient, but he or she cannot be stamped as diabetic until and unless he crosses the level of 200 on two or three occasions at an interval apart. So once you stamp the patient as diabetic, you are stamping a diabetic patient for life. So that is a very important message which should go to the population, because once you say that the patient is diabetic, you are sure that this patient is going to be stamped as a diabetic for the rest of his life, because diabetes is an incurable disease. It is treatable, but is not curable. Just like malaria or a tuberculosis, where the infection is the reason and you treat the infection and the patient gets well. That is not the case which is going to happen with diabetes. Diabetic patients will require oral medications or insulin or both for the rest of his life. So it's a very important decision, and World Health Organization has categorically defined what is the definition of diabetes. So HbA1c is another important thing which has to be kept in mind. HbA1c is a criteria where last 3 months of glycation of hemoglobin is counted, and this will give us an idea about the diabetic status for the past 3 months. Sometimes patients come to us prior to 1 week coming to the doctor. They are very regular on medications and very strict on diet and get a fasting and PP blood sugar which is acceptable. But the last 3 months picture is much better evaluated by the HbA1c level, which gives an idea about the glycemic condition for the past 3 months, and also the chances of getting a diabetic complication in the near future can be ascertained with the HbA1c level. So it's called like HbA1c level will give an idea about the future complications of diabetes much better than the fasting and PP blood sugar. But that doesn't mean that fasting and PP blood sugar is not important. That is equally important and has to be taken care of. Another important armamentarium which has come into our therapy is the improvement in the glucometers, the portable glucometers. You can just give a finger prick and check the blood sugar at your home, and that eases the chances of getting a report, going to the lab, get the report, and that cumbersome thing is much hastened by this intervention of getting a blood sugar level at your home by a glucometer. There are various types of glucometers which I am not going to do details, but reasonably accurate capillary blood sugar levels are checked here. The capillary blood glucose level is somewhere between a venous blood glucose and an arterial blood glucose, but it is almost as good as it gets for a venous blood sugar, with a plus to minus 10 to 15% error, which can be sometimes calibration errors also. So the theme of diabetes 2021 to 2023 by the IDF and the WHO is that access to diabetes care should be very important, and if not now, when? So that is the main theme which we are focusing on for the next 3 years. That IDF started the World Diabetes Day celebration in the year 1991, and since then for the last 30 years we have been celebrating World Diabetes Day on 14th November. But this year, from 2021 to 23, 3 years, the theme remains the same. That is to access to all the diabetic care which a patient demands of diabetes, like access to investigation, access to a doctor, access to medical therapy in forms of insulin and oral hypoglycemic agents. And mind you, India has the cheapest supply of diabetes insulin in the whole world. Probably India and Bangladesh are the only two countries where insulin is also available for type 1 patients in free, and many people are not aware of this. If the patient is a type 1 diabetic and a child who needs insulin, the government has made adequate arrangements for getting the patients, type 1 diabetic patients, generic human insulin at their doorsteps. And this is possible with government hospitals providing medications free, and the patient has enough important armamentarium to tackle his diabetes and its complications. Talking about diabetes, there are some myths which has to be broken. There are some dietary myths. There are some myths regarding dietary habits, exercise, and insulin, and the phobia of insulin and oral hypoglycemic agents. So one by one, we'll tackle the questions. What is important is diabetes per se is not just a number. To you, it may be just a number of 150 or a 300 or a 375, but to a doctor it means a lot, because as your glycemic status is getting uncontrolled, you are inviting much more complications in the form of getting high cholesterol levels and other toxic chemicals which cause damage to the internal arteries. And that is the reason behind diabetes being called a silent killer. When your diabetes levels are not under control, your blood sugar levels make your blood much more thicker, and it damages your intimal wall in the arteries and sometimes causes diabetic complications. It starts with the eyes in the form of diabetic retinopathy. Sometimes it affects your heart. It is called a diabetic ischemic heart disease, or a heart attack, myocardial infarction, or a heart failure which leads to heart pump failure. It affects the kidneys in the form of arteries getting sclerosed and causes diabetic nephrosclerosis and later nephropathy, where protein loss is significant in diabetic patients. With early diabetic changes, you find your protein levels, you are losing a lot of albumin and protein through your kidneys, and that is the earliest marker of a diabetic kidney disease. And later on, the patient develops into renal failure, and if uncontrolled diabetes is kept there for more than say 8 to 10 years or 15 years, the patient lands up in a dialysis unit with the advanced renal failure. Apart from that, there are diabetic neuropathy, which causes diabetic nerve damages, and the patients complain of a lot of pain in their bodies, especially in their legs, especially at night. And these are called diabetic neuropathy pain, and also leads to diabetic neuropathic foot changes, which leads to diabetic foot gangrene. So lower limb amputation is also a very important complication of diabetes, and diabetic complication treatment is far difficult than treating diabetes alone. So the importance of diabetes control is to prevent the complications from happening. If diabetes is well controlled, it is very easy to control a disease. But if the diabetic patient comes to us with complications, it is difficult to treat the diabetes per se as well as the complications, and the number of medications go more than 10 to 15 even on some patients who are on multi-target organ deficient damaged states like diabetic nephropathy, heart disease, or a neuropathy or retinopathy, and the patient has a prescription which is more than 8 to 10 medications. And as the list goes on increasing, the adherence of the patients adhering to the treatment and the treatment inertia also is a barrier to the perfect delivery of diabetic management in patients. So we'll have some important questions. I think I'll get some questions from your Facebook if there are any, but I will try to mitigate some of the myths which are very prevalent regarding diet and exercise. The important thing is that diabetic patients are type 1 and type 2 diabetic patients. Type 1 diabetic patients are a patient who have lack of insulin in their body, so they have to be given insulin directly, whether they are eating or not eating. They have to be given the insulin because that is an important thing which is there. inside their body, their glucose levels cannot be controlled because the insulin level, which is the regulator of glucose, what insulin does is to regulate the blood glucose levels from your blood sugar and send it into the cell intracellularly, and then the metabolism increases. So the importance of insulin in a body, if it is not there, has to be supplemented from outside in type 1 diabetic patients. So here in type 1 diabetic patients, the diet has to be modified according to the insulin requirements and the body weight of the patient. And generally, they are lean patients who had body weight is really low. So their protein intake has to be increased accordingly. But if the patient has a diabetic nephropathy complications where when the creatine level is going high, then the protein level has to be regulated. So the importance of diet is and the teamwork of diabetic nutritionists as well as diabetic care educators and the diabetic team approaches is very important, because the patient has many complications. You need the help of a nephrologist or say a neurologist or a cardiologist. Then the medication list also goes haywire, and the nutritional advice and the medication costs become so high that the patient is unable to bear with the long-term treatment plans which are given by the physician or the concerned team members of the doctor's team. So so dietary changes has to be tailor-made according to the body weight of the patient, his level of physical activity. You cannot give the same diet to a rickshaw puller as well as to a office goer who has just has a sedentary lifestyle. So that dietary, what people ask for when they come to our clinic is just to ask for a diabetic diet chart. That is not important. It's a frugal thing, because diabetic diet charts are kept inside the almirah and never followed. It is the most important thing is diabetic diet has to be supplemented with the amount of exercise which you perform. The diabetic exercise is, as per ADA recommendation, at least 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week. That is 150 minutes per week. So that is the minimum walking which is required. The brisk walking is important, because brisk walking is the easiest form of exercise which can be continued for the rest of your life. You can go to a gym for 3 months or 6 months or even to a year or so, but you cannot continue for a long period of time, especially because of your busy working schedule. If you are a working individual and you have to continue to go to a gym every day, it is very difficult to perform the thing. Either any form of physical activity, be it playing tennis or physical activity like jogging or walking, anything is good, but level of physical activity determines what your dietary plans will be. So there has to be a important intervention between the nutritionist, the dietary exercises which the patient does, and the lifestyle which the patient adheres to. So this interaction is very important, which gives us the idea of how the diet should be, what the insulin or the oral hypoglycemic agent should be, and the timing of the drug is also very important. If the patient is taking most of the diet in the morning, then the medicines has to be stacked in the morning. But if the patient has a lot of things to eat in the dinner, so the insulin or the oral hypoglycemic agents has to be distributed according to his timing on the physics, and the pharmacological effects of the drug has to be ascertained. Number 3 important thing is the diet drugs which are given has some side effects also. So many people ask, why will I take a medicine for the rest of your life? So I convince them to tell that the patient needs the medication to prevent the complications, and diabetic drugs and the side effects has to be seen by the physician himself. He has to ascertain whether the drug is causing some side effects or not, or the disease itself is progressing to cause some complications leading to renal failure or something like that, and the drug dosages has to be escalated or de-escalated according to the need of the patient and the complications of the drug which is also being given. So this is an unnecessary fear of patients having drug side effects, whereas the disease is already advancing. So the inertia of the patients to start the medication at the right time, at the right moment is very important. I feel that the patient should be adequately taken into the confidence of the physician, and they have to both share what they are wanting to get out of it. So I'll have some question and answers in the session. I will not extend the session anymore. This is my first Facebook live session on World Diabetes Day. I would request other questions to be pouring into the box, and we'll discuss about it. But remember 2 or 3 things. Insulin, when given in type 1 diabetes, is always a necessity, but in type 2 diabetic patients, the importance of the dietary intervention and the failure of oral hypoglycemic agent harbors in the issue of insulin into the treatment regime. And insulin, once started in type 2 diabetic patients, should be continued until and unless it is a very short time period for a operative period or a pre-operative or a perioperative period. I'll end my session because prolonging a session doesn't help anymore. So thank you very much for providing me this platform and asking me to talk on the subject. So I'll end this session and ask for questions if